Howdy folks, this soap is from Kitchen Witch, and the name of the soap is Bristle Sword. It's a solid shave cream, and going to be following this up with an aftershave balm. This comes all the way from Hawaii. This is what the soap or the cream looks like. And it's a fairly soft cream. Scooped it out with my my baby spoon. Got it here in a bowl. Whipped it up with a Mac Metalworks brush, synthetic knot. As you can tell, whip it up on the wet side, excuse me, or the moist side. That's just the way I prefer to have most of my my shaves, with a moist, wet lather. You see it whips up just fine. Shave of the day. This head comes by the way of Italian barber. It's the Old Type, patterned after the Gillette, and the handle itself is from Mac Metalworks, and the handle is aluminum. Pretty cool handle. This one's a little bit longer than your typical handle, I guess you might say. And the blade of choice today is a Treet Falcon, and it also says here on the back, in case you're unfamiliar with this particular blade, it says a carbon steel blade, and it tells you do not white blade, leave in razor. So in other words, they don't want you on the edge. And of course, yeah, I've got my alum block with my trusty rubber band, going with Thayer's Witch Hazel with aloe. And like I said, I'm going to be following up with a aftershave balm. See if I can get the glare off of it. You see what it is. And this is a glass container also, if that matters to anybody. I've already put a hot towel to the face, bloom water, and this is, I got a link to the site like I normally do down below and whatnot. And this is definitely a manly scent. Smells great. I like this scent. I kind of lean towards the, I guess you might say, I don't mind having a citrus because I do enjoy those from time to time, but a manly scent, yeah, this is definitely a manly scent. Go ahead and get lathered up here. Had some fun this morning. Tell you a little bit about the scent. I've got some notes over here. So in other words, it's got aloe vera juice in it, bay leaves, it's got some olive oil. Scent would be along the lines of patchouli, myrrh, cedar wood, and peppermint. I can smell the peppermint and the cedar wood. And while I was blooming it, I could definitely smell some bay. At least per my nose. If you've been following along, my nose can be difficult to get along with sometimes. Some days I don't smell much of anything, and then I'll have some days it seems like the volume's turned wide open and I can smell anything and everything. Part-time worker, if you will. Alright. We'll go ahead and get started. These Falcon blades I've used a few times. I've pretty consistently got a good shave from them. But there is another Treet blade, I think they're referred to as Black Beauties. For me, it depends on what razor they're in, whether I get a favorable shave, I guess you might say. Sometimes not so much. It's one of those cases where you need to match up the blade with the razor, because in some razors the Black Beauties didn't work too well for me. I think in some ways this blade here kind of reminds me of a single edge blade. I get that feedback like I would with a carbon steel blade in a single edge. Sounds an awful lot like it. And that's per my ears too. And they're a little old. They've been put through the paces, being in the Army and being on the flatline refuel and the aircraft, whatnot. They've suffered a little bit of damage. It's just a little bit. I've got some hearing loss in one ear, but that was probably tested a good number of years ago, about 7 years ago maybe. And I can tell now that over time it's gotten worse. I find myself turning my head to the good ear. But I can still hear that feedback. That's some people may not like it, like that kind of feedback. Boy, this scent is just rolling out. It's one of those times where they talk about having, excuse me, smell-o-vision. Boy, this would be one, because my nose is definitely picking it up. Definitely got this on the wet side. Dripping lather all over. There's plenty of slickness, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. If you're wondering about this head, comparison to the Gillette Old Type, it is similar, but just a tad bit different. It's not quite as aggressive in my opinion. So if you were looking for a head that's not quite as aggressive as the Gillette Old Type, this one here might be one for you. And they're not real expensive either. Matter of fact, I need to make sure, making a mental note here to make sure I get a link included for that head. Can't remember off the top of my head what the price was. I'm wanting to say was, I think, $8. It might have been 11. Not really expensive in my opinion. Depending on where you go and what you do, you can probably hunt down an original, find an old type that's got a handle that's split, and you might be able to pick it up for $15 on eBay. You might be able to, and then you got to probably include the shipping. So depending on how you want to look at it, if you're wanting the original head or not, put on a different handle. I know there's some that the thought is with that the head and the handle, I guess you might say, are married, designed to be that way, and I understand that. And in some cases more than others, I really feel that way. But in this particular case, I think you could find a handle and a head like this to work well for you. Like this one here, even though the handle is long, it looks kind of big in diameter, which it is, but since it's made out of aluminum, it's very lightweight. So if you prefer a longer handle, but something that's not heavy, like brass, a handle like this might work well for you. I still say this is, at least I would say, this is feeling pretty efficient. If you kind of wonder about the, I guess you might say the technique, if you will, in between re-wetting the face and whatnot, I'm feeling around on my face, seeing how the shea is going, as well as still working in the leftover soap or cream. This part of my face over here has it grows in an odd way. It's not necessarily in a spiral, but it is in different directions. And it's the reason why some of the guys, maybe if they try to grow a beard and they have problems with their hair, not wanting to, let's say their whiskers wanting to behave, probably has a lot to do with that growth. Is because the way it grows, it's difficult to get them to go the direction you want them to go. And you'll see some pictures, some guys, their beard growth really nice. In other words, they're being able to get it to go the direction they want it to go, and it looks like it's just a natural growth pattern. This is definitely a good scent. I think this scent. This is one of those scents that's going to stick around for a moment. Really nice. I like this scent. Really nice. So I already tested out the took a little bit of the aftershave balm. I couldn't wait. And put some on my hand, on the backs of my hands, and really like this scent. It's pretty good stuff. And if you're like other folks, having the scent stick around like it does, and get an aftershave balm that's not greasy, that is kind of a difficult thing to do. Some of the aftershave balms are a little bit greasy, oily, and it might be that it's more of a user error. In other words, I'm trying to use too much. Something you have to experiment when you're using a balm is how much do you need to use? How much effort does it take to work it in? I can still smell it. Love this scent. This is a pretty nice scent. I wasn't too sure what to think about this scent. I have to say, this one here is quite surprising. Go ahead and get my alum block here. Very slick. Yeah, you'll definitely want to make sure you read the ingredients on this soap if you're thinking about getting some for anybody. For instance, the bay leaves may be something that you're not interested in, or anything that you might be allergic to. Yeah, you don't want to break out in a real bad rash. That would be bad. So far, I'm not feeling anything like that. Matter of fact, this shave turned out pretty good for an Old Type. I just got a little bit of stinging back over here on each side. But outside of that, this is a really nice shave. Very little to no stinging whatsoever. That's pretty good with a head like that. There's. Weather-wise, it is definitely, I wanted to say psychotic. You have days where the high will be in the 60s maybe, and like today the high is in the 80s, and it's like, of course then the lows are just as out of whack. You think in November we'd finally get past a lot of that kind of wacky weather, but the temperatures being like that. And it has a pump like this right here, And I'm going to start out with it. Oh well, I'll go with 4. I like how this smells. There's something that I'm needing to learn more of is I am not real good with what the thought process is, what scents go best with what time of the year. I've been working with whatever I'm in the mood for, and as well as pairing up. I may have one soap with one scent and then an aftershave with another scent, and I know certain circles that doesn't fly. But for me, the way I kind of look at it is my shade, but I am trying to learn. I'm going to have to start spending a lot more time about what scents work best together, learn more about the scents. That, and as well as and Douglas has talked about it in one of his videos about how you can get your nose accustomed to different scents, and I've got to do something of the sort, because sometimes I can't. I know I smell something, I can't tell you what it is, and I need to get better at it, being able to pick up what that scent is. So once again, that was the Kitchen Witch with Bristle Sword. Really nice scent. I like this scent. And of course then here's the aftershave balm. And I still got plenty. I can get a whole nother 3-pass shave with what this knot's got in it. In case you're wondering, I don't think you can find this brush there. You might be able to find one, a handle like this. Maybe he may have sold them. But that's one thing that's nice about Jake's work. Usually it's whatever you see there, if you like it, you better get it, because that's probably the only one that's there. Had a great shave. Hope everybody's doing well. Stay safe, and smooth shaves to you.